Welcome, all you Rugrats, to the podcast that is all that and a bag of chips. My name is Mike, and that's a frozen jelly up there. And this to my top over there, that's a good buddy of mine, Dennis. Welcome, Dennis. Welcome to the 90s First. How's it going?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good. Well, I pegged Dennis for this episode just because of the topic. I knew he was a huge fan, good friend of mine, so thought I brought him on. But really quickly, have you guys been good so far? Like, have you guys been good recently? Everything chill? I know Dennis is over in Minneapolis, so it's a little anxiety inducing right now. But
yeah, a little crazy over here right now. We are on a curfew, but I'm safe. I'm in my basement now recording, so that's a good place to be for me. So
glad to hear. Jelly, you're doing good.
I am doing great. Still working the COVID-19 test site, so a daily exposure to that, and it's fun. Other than that, I'm hanging out and enjoying my family and my house a lot.
Well, that's good. That is good. Me too. We're literally outside all day, all afternoon today. Playing in the pool and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty good time spending with family, especially in this quarantine. Well, if you know the 90s First, if you've been listening to us, obviously we do start with a little bit of housekeeping. So this one is a little bit more special for specifically Jelly and I, because we're going to be introducing here some new content. So we're pretty excited about this. But first, the $2 recess tier over on our Patreon, patreon.com/the 90s First podcast. You can get access to the podcast 2 days in advance for just $2. And so that's just a very small amount of money that you can use to help support us monetarily. If you want to upgrade to the $3 Rugrats tier, you also get the podcast 2 days in advance, but you also get an extra blog post from myself and possibly Jelly in the future, maybe, who knows. But we write
writing,
extra.
But I'll write something if they want.
we will write. I write usually an extra blog post for everybody over in our $3 Rugrat tier, and then our $6 Friends tier. It is, you also get everything from those other two tiers, and you get a video version of the podcast. But today, can I get a drum roll, gentlemen? We need a drum roll. Not a cough, a drum roll. We are introducing our $9 Animaniacs tier. Yes, it is the tier for all you 90s fans who are just crazy Animaniacs that would like to support us at the $9 tier. You get everything from the previous tiers below, but here is what we are introducing. The first thing we are introducing is that you will be able to access a live stream of the podcast. So every other Sunday, every other Sunday, you $9 Animaniacs can watch us live. There will be a question and answer section, just a small chat section near the end of the podcast to have you a little bit more involved in the live stream as we're recording. So you will have access to that at the $9 tier. Also, you will have access to a brand new podcast. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are introducing the 90s First Movie Edition. We're going to be talking about 90s movies once every 2 weeks. And if you support us at the $9 Animaniacs tier, you will get access to that. It's going to be about a 30-minute 90s movies podcast. So I hope that you guys will enjoy that. But
and who wouldn't be? Because it's the best decade of movies ever to have existed, ever.
Do you agree with that, Dennis?
Yeah. I mean, yes, yeah. Very much so.
Yes. Okay. All right. So you'll get access to that extra podcast, and we're really excited about that. But also, in order to create some more community involvement in the podcast, we want you guys to decide the direction of the 90s First. So the $9 tier, the $6 tier, the $3 tier, and the $2 tier will get the ability to vote for what show we talk about on the 90s First the core podcast. So every other week, you'll get a chance to vote on which show that you would like to see us cover the first episode of. But wait, there's more. Finally, and I finally, and I promise. Finally, I promise this is the last thing. The $6 tier and the $9 tier, if you support us at the Friends tier and the Animaniacs tier, you will have the opportunity to suggest a show. And then we will take a suggestion from that list, compile a poll, and then that's where you guys will actually vote on. So if you're part of the $6 or the $9 tier, you'll get to suggest a show for us to cover on the podcast. So does that content sound pretty fun, you guys?
Yo, clarify one more time. Every tier gets to vote on the episode?
Yes, every single tier gets to vote. From 2 to 9, every single tier.
But 6 and 9 get to actually suggest TV shows that we'll talk about.
Yes. 6 and 9, they actually get to suggest.
Nice.
Man, that's a bevy of new content that we want to offer you guys if you support us on Patreon. And just a reminder, it is a monthly subscription. So just $2 a month, you can support us financially over at our Patreon. So if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to DM us on our socials. Speaking of that, we do have a Facebook page at the 90s First. Go ahead and check it out. Please go ahead and hit a like. Talk with us about the 90s stuff that we post on there. And we would love to talk and chat with you guys, communicate with you guys. We are also on Twitter at the 90s First. And then finally, we are on Instagram at the 90s First _podcast. Oh my goodness. That's all the housekeeping.
Take a breath.
Yes. That is all the housekeeping. Shout out to Discord for letting us, for having this amazing video suite in order for us to record the video version of the podcast. Well, gentlemen, you guys ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Bet your booty I am.
All right. Awesome. So, to introduce the new topic, I'm just going to do something. That won't be copyrighted because I sang it.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear.
We are doing Friends this episode. Jelly did decide to do Friends as his live action choice here.
Because
Jelly,
it's amazing.
Is that the only reason you chose?
I love it. My wife loves it. I actually didn't watch it when it originally aired, and I didn't even watch it until it was done airing for the first time in 2004
is when they were done.
2010 was the first time that I watched any Friends episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get to watch it with my wife. I get to hang out and talk Friends with her, and then it led me to be able to hang out and talk Friends with you guys, which I'm even more excited about. But don't tell her.
I didn't watch Friends until 2012 when my current wife, well, my only, yeah.
Whoa.
we might have to edit that out.
You heard it here, scandal.
Except for the Patreon version because it's uncut. Dang it.
Restart.
Let's restart. Let's reset. Yeah, when me and my wife were long distance when we were dating, we every time that I would come up to her place, we would watch the series because I had never seen it before, and it is one of her favorite shows, so she had to just show me. So, and then Dennis, did you watch it live?
Well, okay, yeah. So when it started in '94, I was 12. So the first few seasons, I did not watch it. I was forbidden to watch it because of the subject matter. Was not deemed appropriate in my house until my mom decided she liked it. Because then they started syndicating it. It'd be on for like an hour a day, probably around the 4th or 5th season. So that was when I was finally permitted to. So by then I'm in high school. By then I mean, and then yeah, I had lost interest in really wanting to see it, but then it was on our TV at home a lot, and so that was when I caught up on it, and then yeah, watched it all the way through till the end of 2004. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah, hated every minute of it, right?
it was it was great to catch up to it because then I finally knew what everybody at school was talking about.
Yes.
Everybody was talking about Ross and Rachel. I didn't know who they were.
Wait, who?
Yeah, exactly. I knew that Rachel had a hairdo that everybody liked to do. And then
Yes.
yeah, when the show came out, the song by the Rembrandts was on our local radio station KDWB constantly. I probably recorded it from the radio. No joke.
You got a cassette over there?
Yeah,
yeah.
that is probably lost in time, the cassette, but I know I recorded it definitely.
Well, let's just go ahead and move into a little bit of notes here. Friends was released in 1994. It's obviously a sitcom, and it follows the personal and professional lives of six 20 to 30 something year olds living in Manhattan. And even though they're in Manhattan, it seems like they're only in that coffee shop for the whole series, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it stars
right outside.
Yeah, right downstairs. Very convenient, and that couch was always available.
Always. And then there was that one episode where they walked in and like people were sitting there, and they just left. It was hilarious.
They didn't know what to do. Yeah.
I know, right? It was so funny. And then this stars Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, Matthew Perry, and David Schwimmer. So fantastic cast and show. It's very exciting to talk about this. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm pretty sure we'll talk a little bit more about just our feelings about the overall show after we talk about the first episode, but let's take just a break. But it's uncut. Dang it. All right, Joey's gone. It's just you and Dennis.
That's fine.
So we're gonna talk about some nostalgia we have about the show. Dennis, do you want to start us off? Like, what are some of your favorite episodes, favorite characters, stuff that happened? Watching it with Stacy or something.
Yeah, my wife should be the one should be on this show right now because she's a complete super fan. Right behind, I'm using her office that she works from home, and right behind me there's a Central Perk sign and then a Friends poster. So I didn't really realize that till I set up here, but so yeah, she's a huge fan. She would watch it quarterly when it was on Netflix. It had about a 2 or 3 year run on Netflix there, and she would have it on while she'd be working just as in the background. But she would do that quarterly. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
As far as like favorite episodes, that's really hard to do. Like I said, it wasn't until like season 4, season 5 that I was able to watch it. But that was right around the time when Monica and Chandler got together. Well, up until then, it was all Ross and Rachel, and that was just what they saturated the show. That I talked about. I actually think that the probably one of the best things they did on that show was pairing Monica and Chandler together, and then kind of following their journey there. As far as it, as far as making it, discussing nostalgia with it, I really don't think it has had a chance to be nostalgic. Because, you guys just said you started watching in 2010. You started watching in 2012. It's been heavily syndicated since it ended. It was, like I said, it was on Netflix for a 2 to 3 year run. Now it's on HBO Max. It is out there. There are I will see kids in middle school wearing a Friends T-shirt or things like that, and so they know it. Yeah, so younger kids are picking it up, and they still latch onto it. and it becomes something that they enjoy, even though it hasn't been on in just under 10 years, or oh no, longer than that, just under 20
Yeah.
years, 15
Obviously, it
years now.
ended in 2004, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
with it being on Netflix, it definitely is still somewhat mainstream while it was still on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the show itself doesn't have too much nostalgia to it because, and as you watch the series, a lot of it is relatable to our time as well still. So the show itself doesn't have nostalgia, but like just like the memories that you create watching that show, at least that I did back at like had my wife and I, we would do that every single weekend. We would just binge Friends because I had never seen it, and
That's awesome.
Heather wanted me to see it. And then I just fell in love with the show. And we'll just get it out. We'll just get the cat out of the bag. I was watching this show simultaneously as I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and How I Met Your Mother is good, but it's not as good as Friends, in my opinion.
It took a lot of things from Friends, actually.
Yeah, obviously, it's heavily inspired.
Yeah, very much.
So, Jelly, we're in nostalgia lane. You got any nostalgia for this show?
You know what? I do. I got a lot going on here, so I'm gonna apologize if there's background. But Friends, the first time I watched it, I was away from my wife, separated, distance, not marital status. She was pregnant, and I was in Alaska trying to earn money for the baby that was on the way. And it was the first time I ever saw it through Friends and watched it, and she'd watched it through when it aired originally because she's a little older than me, so she enjoyed it while it was airing, and I was able to talk with her every day about the episodes of Friends that I watched that day while on break. And so I just connected to that time where, before I had kids, but it was my wife and I, and it was our moment to kind of like relate over something, especially when like we were thousands of miles apart. I was in Alaska, she was in California. So for us to be able to connect over something, as simple as a TV show was awesome, and to be able to talk about it and just like, and it was our virtual hangout,
Yeah.
So I connected with that, and because of that, obviously it has great connotations for TV, for relationship, for everything that I can just it just hits me right in the nostalgia stomach. And I think about that time with my wife and that time where she was pregnant with my son, and it brings back those things. Also, it's an amazing show, so you get to enjoy watching it while connecting with those moments.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's amazing. Well,
oh, I think he just turned his video
off. Hello?
My bad. Bad.
Well then. Yes. All right. Are you good? What'd you do?
I try to make it a full screen so I could mute and unmute myself easily, and I hit the big red button instead of the little square.
Okay. Well, that's uncut as well now.
Hey, I'm back.
This is the raw stuff.
Yes. So transitioning back, yeah, Dennis said that How I Met Your Mother certainly took a lot of cues, a lot of sitcom, just what's the word? What is the word I'm thinking of? Sitcom.
Well, it had such a similar environment. Also in New York, they had a hangout, and then they had the one or two living places that they
tropes was the word
there
I was
we go.
thinking
Yes.
of.
Yes.
And instead of a coffee shop, it was a bar.
It was a bar.
Instead of a nice luxury apartment that none of them could afford, it was a lower end apartment that they might actually be able to afford.
That they were all crammed into.
Yeah.
A little more real. Yeah.
But the thing, let me get your take on this really quick. The thing that separates the two shows is the cast. Like, not the actors, but the characters. Like, I personally love the characters in How I Met Your Mother, but like by season 7 and 8, I'm just sick of Ted Mosby. I'm just like, just find a wife already. I'm just kind of done with this story. Whereas for the most part, I'm in it with everybody in Friends. What do you guys think about that?
Well, let's just face it. I think the thing that really separates the two is the final episode of each one. Friends was,
Oh, yeah.
I think was good. How I Met Your Mother was terrible.
Terrible.
Awful.
Yes.
I'm gonna.
This is a family friendly show, so I've got other words for it, but yeah.
So in my research, they offered Friends an 11th season, and they turned it down. They turned it down because of how it ended. Because it ended so well, it wrapped everything up nicely. It gave us a little bit of wanting more, but it gave us a tone of finality that a lot of shows don't do well.
Yes.
But Friends did, and they knew when to end it. And I would say that How I Met Your Mother cash cowed it for an extra couple seasons when they could have just had a good ending earlier.
Yeah.
But they didn't want it. They wanted
people still want more Friends. They still want to see that reunion.
Oh yeah.
There's always how many times a year is there a rumor of they might be two of them were seen shooting something together. Okay, still probably not going to happen, but but yeah, people crave more.
Yes. Yeah, these characters are timeless in Friends. Like, well, I mean, I quote Chandler and I quote Joey like so often. Like and then you could even quote Ross, and he's he's arguably one of the weaker of the six. But like
that's the thing about it is like pick your favorite character on there. It's pretty hard to do.
It is hard. I'll personally pick Chandler, but all of them have something different. Yeah.
I think they're also leveled off so well that you just kind of like them. Like it's like in one episode, all right, that was a good Chandler episode. That was a good Ross episode. And then the next one is like, well, actually that one was better, Monica. That was better Phoebe, and so it really spread it all out for them so well that it is tough to pick your favorite one on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the characters are all built so well. They're all given so much, you throughout watching the series, you get so much background and extra information that you can't help but like all of them for a different reason. Like every one of them is built so well and brings their own thing to the table. And I think that's why it works the best is because it's not just a mash of good people on screen. It's a perfect combination of these well-structured, well-built-out characters who all have a past, who all have their quirks, and they were able to just meld them together so perfectly.
Yeah.
They also they are very famous for guest stars, famous guest stars. Some of the best performances out of some of the biggest actors out there are on Friends, are like so memorable. I think that's
absolutely.
I think the episodes with Christina Applegate is some of her best work.
Yeah.
She won an Emmy for her work on Friends.
Oh, she was unbelievable. Brad Pitt's performance on that Thanksgiving episode.
Bruce Willis.
Still kills me. Bruce Willis might be the best one actually on there.
Oh, come on, Tom Selleck. The Stash.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Tom Selleck had the most screen time as a special guest star, of course. But
they had.
What about the small one? It was early. It was like I think it was maybe season 1, maybe season 2. But they had Robin Williams and
Billy Crystal.
And Billy Crystal on there.
Yep. It was only
hysterical.
For the cold open, and it was some of the funniest moments in TV, easily.
Easily.
But I mean, that's Robin Williams in a completely different league.
Yeah.
And then definitely throw Billy Crystal in there as well. So.
At the end, Paul Rudd.
Paul
Rudd fan.
Yes. Yep.
I love Paul Rudd.
Hasn't aged a bit since then.
Right.
Yeah, that's weird.
And he's more jacked now because he's Ant-Man.
Yeah. Right.
Fair point.
Exactly. Any other things about nostalgia? Any other reminiscing we want to do before we jump into the first episode?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
tons that we could go over, but
Yeah,
That
true.
you could have a whole season of a podcast talking about it, actually. So
Yeah, you know, there's a
pretty
podcast that's literally all on The Office, and it blew up like right away.
I feel like there actually
Next
might be one for
podcast.
Friends too, but I'm not sure.
Probably. All right, well, let's go ahead and move into all that chat. All right, guys, let's dive deep into the first episode. Obviously, in my opinion, the first season isn't the best. I think this starts off. I think Friends really gets going in season 2 right off the bat, with that cliffhanger at the end of season 1, and then going into season 2. But rewatching this first episode, you pick up on so many things that can't happen throughout the series without this episode. So let's start off right at the top. First, where are they at? I mean, right at the beginning.
First scene is right in Central Perk there.
Yep.
Right
Opens
in
up
the coffee shop. And like they're in the coffee shop, right? And it's, you know, the people who produce the show are just right off the gates like, hey, you're going to spend a lot of time in this place watching this show.
Yeah.
Well, they fade into like 3 different conversations in just that first like, you know, they'll be talking about one thing and then all of a sudden it fades to their head and they're talking, then Ross comes in. So I kind of got the feeling that was something that they intended to do throughout the series, but maybe scrapped. But yeah, they definitely kind of established this is really where a lot of everything is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the character entrances, I think they use the coffee shop really well, because throughout the series, a lot of what's happening is happening from outside to inside. You get that quick little blip as they walk by the window, and then come in, and the conversation starts. So you get this usually a conversation before that person gets in there, either riffing on them or making fun of something, or something serious is happening, and then you get this awesome character entrance into Central Perk where that person joins into the conversation. And I think that was pretty iconic for that show, to hold that entrance. I mean, you get it twice in the first episode.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there was a lot of intention there as well. I mean, it starts out, it's four people sitting there, and they're in their 20s, and you know that's kind of an age where you're trying to figure your life out, you know, in your early mid 20s. But the 2 people that enter later are 2 people that already had their lives so kind of figured out. You know, Ross was married for 4 years. He thought he was going to live the married life, and then that was it. He had it figured out. And then through no fault of his own, something out of his control, that ended. He didn't want it to end, and he even said, "I just want to be married again." Enter Rachel. Who's
in a wedding dress, no
in
less.
a wedding dress,
you know, soaking wet. But she was in the kind of the same boat as well. She had her life already planned out for her. She was, you know, she came from an affluent background. She was going to marry orthodontist, but she realized she didn't care. She was going to marry Barry, and she didn't. She realized she didn't love him, so she, you know, ran off on her wedding. So her life was figured out for her, but she chose to, unlike Ross, who it was beyond his control. She took control of her own life, and went to go find Monica, a connection she had already had. So the fact that those 2 were kind of introduced around the same time in very similar circumstances really seemed very intentional.
And of course, the comedy behind it is that Ross, you know, didn't know his wife was a lesbian, and now he's divorced, and that's one of those through line things throughout the series. Literally starts in the first episode. Divorced, and Ross is, by the end
Ross
of the series,
divorced
3 times, right? And it starts here in this first episode, and you know, you even get that signature hi. It's just like
Yep.
the Ross, I'm down, I'm depressed, And you get so many signature moments even in this first scene. Ross says, I just want to be married again. And then Rachel literally comes right in. And then Chandler, his stick, this is what he does. I want $1 million. It's perfect. It's timeless. And it's just great comedy even in that first scene. Jelly, you got something?
No, I can't expand on that. You guys did wonderful. I mean, it was great. You get the riffs between Chandler's uncomfortable, awkward, funny. So anytime he gets uncomfortable in a situation, his first thing is to go to his wit and be funny. And he's hysterical. It's all really just, it's super dry humor, which I'm a sucker for. So I love it. You get Joey's very much Joey-isms, especially in this first episode. How to fix a divorce. Go to the strip joint. It's Joey.
Strip joint.
So you get a really cool first look at who these characters are. Monica being the type A, kind of controlling the conversation at the beginning. Then you get Chandler, the funny guy. You've got Joey, the kind of cool guy, and then you've got Phoebe being the weirdo. That outlier, the why is she in this group of friends, but every group of friends has that person.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
if you don't know who that person is, you're probably it.
You're that person. And then you get the Ross introduction, his iconic hi, and then Joey's response is, wow, I've never wanted to kill myself so much just from someone saying hello. And then the Rachel entrance, always late, always dramatic, always about her.
Right. And that's the first scene.
Yep.
And that's the first 3
minutes. Yep.
So then moves on from there. Let's see. It goes into Monica has a date, right? Monica has a date with Paul, the wine guy. The wine guy.
Does he drink it, sell it, or complain too much?
Yeah, you just
that's right.
Just don't know. So here's one of the story threads of the first episode, which is something that I think Friends did brilliantly, was taking multiple storylines and hitting them perfectly within an episode. And so here you got Paul the wine guy. Let's go through this story. What goes on? What do you guys think about it?
It really that's just another example of like I had said earlier. They're trying to figure life out. Well, part of it is the pitfalls of dating. Monica completely gets taken advantage of from Paul the wine guy, somebody that she works with. He was dishonest and he was deceptive, and the following day he also was there. But then she finds out later that he was lying to her about after his divorce that he could not perform, and it just it kind of laid the groundwork for that. Is what that's one of the struggles of just being in your 20s, being single. Some of the pitfalls there.
Yeah, trying to figure out the dating life as a youngster. I'll put it that way, as a fairly young individual living in New York City.
Yep.
Trying to work at the same time, trying to handle your own business and be an adult, and also find a love life in between. And Joey puts it really well. It was a line. She got to take it.
Of course, it was a line.
I can't believe you fell for it.
But it's a great through line for all of them, because the show covers every single one of them having different relationships with different people, and it does a great job of showing the struggles. A lot of struggles. There's quite a few relationships. I don't remember there being this many, but I was rewatching, and there is a ton of relationships between the 6 people.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you
Mm-hmm.
see different reasons why relationships fail, real reasons, and then some TV reasons. Not everything in
Mm-hmm.
Right.
TV is going to be true, but they included a lot of things that are
Yeah.
realistic.
And then you have, like I was saying, multiple stories. Then you have Rachel's story taking front and center notice. And probably m- my favorite like line in the first season in the show in general. She's telling that metaphor to her dad, and her dad, and she's just like, no, I don't want a purse, daddy. It's a metaphor, daddy. It's just like, it's so perfect. And then you got this story of Rachel trying to figure out how to be a normal 20 something year old, right?
She
Yeah, not
she
living on daddy Warbucks.
she makes the decision to take control of her life there, and then suddenly she is thrust into the now I got to figure it out for myself.
Yeah, what a hard decision to make too, though. I mean, the ramifications of that are the show, and I think that's a huge step. I think they did a really good job actually right there, because they took someone who has never known what it's like to struggle, and with a group of friends, it shows that you can survive that. You can make it through if you have the support of your friends.
Yeah.
And the only reason that she made that was because she had her friends. She had her friends there to support
Yeah.
her in becoming
Lift her up.
independent in the first place, and then carrying her from there on out.
Start
They
out
were
by
her
cutting up
support.
her library card and then moving on with the cards. Yes.
Yes. Oh no, I think I'm done. That felt
Yeah.
good.
And that's something that's brilliant about this first episode too, is that Rachel comes in, and she's a nobody to three of the people there: Chandler, Joey, and Phoebe. And yet you see throughout the episode that she just kind of gets ingratiated and is one of them. And that's just that's just what's really cool about Rachel's story in this first episode, was that she runs away, but ultimately she runs to the better situation, ultimately, right?
She runs to Phoebe singing Sound of Music songs
Yeah.
to her.
All
That
right.
you can remember the words to.
Yeah. All right. And then the final the final storyline, if you will, through this is kind of understanding Ross's situation and how he's dealing with his divorce. And one of them would be to start reminiscing about his feelings with Rachel, right?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. Later on, he reveals to Rachel that he had a crush on her. Something we didn't know about. We knew that he had a crush on her back in high school, and yeah, that was his first step into, like he said, just grab the spoon.
Yeah, he took Joey's advice to get a hold on your life, grab a spoon, and he found one.
That's one of the things throughout the show. Joey, like, he'll give advice, and they'll at the time think it's completely useless, but then they wind up taking it. So, in a roundabout way, it winds up working.
It's a Joeyism. The Joeyisms of Friends.
It is.
And obviously, with Ross, in this first episode, he doesn't necessarily know what's going to hit him, right? Because what's hitting him here in the next couple episodes is a finalized divorce and then a kid, right?
That's the next episode.
The very next episode.
He finds out he's going to be a father. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's just crazy to think that, like, this first episode, this divorce is not even the least of his worries now, come the second episode. But it's good to see Ross eventually somewhat move on from it, at the end right there. And then you get this Ross and Rachel thing. It's going to be a thing, right?
Yeah, you get a glimpse of what will become the biggest relationship in the series, drawn out over 10 seasons of
10
who
years.
are Ross and Rachel, and what do they mean to each other.
Yeah.
And you get one super small glimpse right at the end of it, when Ross exposes that, like, hey, I had a crush on you, and she's like, yeah, I know. And then he's like, oh, would you
She
want to
just left it
go
at
out?
that. Yeah.
Well, no,
Would you want to
he
go
was
out with me
actually
sometime?
first he said though, he was like, um oh really, I thought you just thought it was Monaco's nerdy older brother. And
Oh,
she said,
that's
I
right.
Oh, I
did.
did.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Which is just, oh man, the comedy in this, right? It's almost second to none.
Mhm.
Like,
It's done so well.
it
Yeah,
is
it's
done so well.
unbelievable.
It's one of the few shows that has a laugh track, but like I'm actually laughing like during the laugh track because the comedy is just that good, right?
Yeah, they didn't
They
need
both
it. They
were
had
always
live
on. Yeah.
audience, but I mean, you add a little bit of laugh track, but they had a live audience and they got reactions,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't faked. It was just added to. They had to. Speaking of Richard earlier, when Tom Selleck was on, they had to reshoot all of his entrances because the audience was too loud, and it was completely unusable. So every entrance that he has, all of those scenes had to be reshot. Every one of them. Yeah,
Oh,
like
that would sound terrible.
There has not been a moment in my life close to being that cool. So that's
you've got to work on that stash.
unbelievable. Yeah.
You got
yeah.
a good stash. You just gotta shave off the rest, man.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck is so cool. Sorry, that's a complete side note.
Oh, easily.
Oh, you mean Magnum PI?
Magnum. Yep. Those were some good. And then he, anytime he would, in later seasons, he showed up every once in a while.
Yeah,
And
he was
it was always great.
Yeah.
character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in this first episode, you have those three stories where you're following Monica, Rachel, and Ross, but then you got the other three. So let's start with Joey. Joey,
Mr. Tribbiani.
what do we got about Joey here?
Well,
We know he's an actor. We know that
Mhm.
he is young because oh my gosh, do you guys remember Joey me this young ever? Dude, it took me off guard rewatching. I couldn't believe just how young he looked compared to all the other ones. The other ones didn't change that much, but Joey, he's so young, and you feel this youth about him as well. Like, if I had to guess, he would be the youngest one of the group. But yeah, he's an actor, and he's best friends with Chandler, and that's kind of all they give us of who he is.
They kind of allude to the fact that he's a bit of a womanizer.
Yeah,
that's true.
When he was leaving to go on a date, he's like, God, what was it? Was it Becky or Brittany? No, and he's trying to figure out which person he's going on a date with, and he's like, oh, that's right, it's Cynthia, or whatever it was. It was, not even the two names that he was listing off.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, okay, so that, it kind of, revealed to us who Joey was.
He likes the ladies. He definitely likes the ladies.
He's the, Joey's the Barney of the group, right? If we're comparing it to How I Met Your Mother. And,
yes.
Literally the first thing that he says to get over a divorce is a strip club. It's a strip joint. It's just, this is a family friendly podcast. But
the first thing he does to a bride who just got divorced, hey,
he was, yeah, that's right.
If you need anything, how you doing?
How you doing? Some of the best scenes in this first episode though are when Ross, Joey, and Chandler were trying to put the furniture together for Ross's new apartment. He's like, Chandler breaks that one thing that Ross is working on. He's like, well, there goes my hour. And it was literally like a stick connected to like a square.
It took me two and a half hours.
But you get a sense of like Ross, he's very close to these two, but these two aren't necessarily the best, Chandler and Joey, the best for bouncing love life, off, right?
Yeah.
Not quite.
Yeah, well, and I think Chandler even admits it there. He's like, neither one of us have had a relationship that lasted longer than a minute. He
Yeah,
had a 4-year marriage, so
his response to your wife left you. She took your TV, she took your couch, she took all your furniture. What'd she leave you? And Ross goes,
just you
"You
guys.
guys." Oh, you got the wrong end of the deal. Like, they know they're not the best people, especially in relationship advice, and they freely admit it. But you love them for it even more.
Yeah.
But he still turns to him for advice,
Yeah, and they're still there for each other, even though Chandler is
like
right.
the song says.
Right. Yeah. You get this sense of camaraderie right at the start. And it especially shows, when Ross moves in with them later after his fifth divorce or something, and or when Chandler is getting married to Monica, you get these camaraderie moments.
Bro, spoiler
And
alert, bro.
bro, if you
Well,
haven't seen it, I'm sorry. Subscribe to HBO Max. This is not an ad. Hashtag not ad. We're not sponsored at all. Yeah, it's very cool to see the start of these friendships. So we kind of talked about Joey. My favorite character in the whole series is Chandler. How is he in this first episode?
He right away establishes as the funny guy. Yes.
The funny guy. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you get. This episode, Chandler is the perfect sidekick. He's the perfect side character for any time you need that moment of relief, that comedic relief. He's got the timing down. He's got the witty thing to say. He's always ready, always on the ball with it. He's always the funny guy, and it works. It just works. He knows the characters. He knows his friends well enough to know what to say, to hit those buttons with them, and to make them either laugh or to make them cringe or to make them whatever. But like, that's what you get out of Chandler this episode. You see his friendship with Joey, and you know that he's the guy that can make you laugh even if you're down.
Yeah.
Well, and we kind of find out it's because anytime there's something uncomfortable, he's going to try to break that tension. That's his thing.
Yeah. And one of my favorite Chandler part in this whole episode is when they're talking about Joey as an actor, and he's like, "Oh, have you seen Pinocchio?" And he's like, "Oh, Geppetto, I am a real living boy." And then Joey storms off.
Once I was a wooden boy.
Once I was a wooden. He runs off like crazy, and you just see. I really like Chandler in these first like 4 seasons or so, because you get the sarcasm with the bodily humor as well. And then, when he starts in, being, dating Monica and engaging her and getting married, and those later seasons, his comedy is pretty much solely just wit and timing. And so I really love Chandler in this first episode because he's just bodily, and it just exaggerates the humor, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it transfers really well to the screen. They did a great job. Yeah, him marinating away as Pinocchio, making fun of Joey as he runs into their apartment was fantastic.
Yeah, and then Joey just responds, "He's a dead man."
Oh, Chandler.
Just,
I'm a real boy.
Like, this is the first episode, and we're already quoting it like crazy. Like, that's just how solid the comedy is. How solid the comedy is and the lines are. Anything else on Chandler?
I think it's pretty well covered. What about Phoebe?
Yes, Phoebe was the next. Weird Phoebe. Let's talk about that weirdo, right?
Banana hammock. Yep.
The banana hammock.
She did not. Throughout the whole episode, it's like you are kind of thinking, yeah, okay, this is going to be the quirky friend. Well, then she really drives that home at that credit card cutting scene where she's first she's picking the aura and stuff like that.
Stop it! Don't cleanse my aura. I don't want you. Don't stop cleansing my aura.
All right, fine, be
But,
murky.
But then, yeah, when she's trying to relate with Rachel, and then she just rattles off all of her crazy experiences she's had.
Yeah, Rachel being on her own for the first time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, this is just like that. I don't even remember what most of them were.
And my mother committed suicide, and I had to move up here. And then my dad, he walked out on me, and so I moved in with an albino. And then he was panhandling, and then he committed suicide. And then like, whoa,
yeah,
totally
because that's totally like walking out of a wedding, you know. And then Ross is like, I think the word you're looking for is anyway.
So yeah, she really just drives the point that okay, she's going to be the quirky one.
Yeah,
definitely drives it home there.
And like I've decided that Chandler is my favorite, and like some of the others might seem to be weaker, but like even though some people probably don't relate to Phoebe, like I still think she's on par with everybody else. Like this whole cast is just amazing. Lisa Kudrow did a fantastic job as Phoebe, just being this quirky, just in practically insane person, at least on screen, and it shows in this first episode. Yeah,
episodic. Like they do a really good job throughout the series of highlighting characters for different episodes. And even though in like this one, the front runners are definitely Rachel, Ross, and Monica, and then the other three are the side characters. But there are many episodes where it's about Phoebe. The ones where we meet her sister, the ones where it's okay to be yourself, the one where they do her brother comes in. There are many episodes where they do a good job of making the other characters, side characters, the front runners. Monica's always been a front runner, always will be. Ross, same thing. Rachel, same thing.
Yeah,
they do a super good job rotating them though throughout, so that you get that connection. You're not stuck on, oh, they're side characters. Like, so even though this wasn't Phoebe's episode, like, they build her. They build her into someone who you care about. Like, you really care about this character in the show.
Yeah.
And even though in this one, this isn't her episode, you can tell that she's the one who cares about her friends. Even though she's a weirdo, her care is real, and her care for her friends is legitimate. It's deep, and it's a love for friends that the rest of them aren't as good at showing as she is, even though she shows it in a weird way.
Yeah. So using Phoebe as a transition, talking about something else, like you get that quirkiness once again. Let's start talking about some of the things that this first episode impacts the rest of the series, and one of them is Phoebe and her guitar. Right, like you see that one scene,
busking in the subway.
She's in the subway, but that's a through line plot throughout, and even she gets a couple episodes where it's the main thing, that they're discussing, or that they're highlighting, and you have these moments in this first episode that show a bunch of things that happen in the rest of the series. What other things do you see? We see the guitar. What other things do we see that shape and mold the rest of the series?
We've got Rachel being bad at things. The first time she tries to cook things at the apartment, and then it's absolutely terrible. And then later on, that same episode, at the very end, the little last little roll before credits was her working at the coffee shop, getting her very first job. And they all asked, "Did you make the coffee, or are you just serving it?" I'm just serving it. Okay, yeah, we'll take some. That's a through line.
I think everything with her in the beginning, everything is done training week. She's testing the waters first. Her first job is at the coffee shop that she ran into at the beginning of the episode, and so
but then even at the end, when she gets the job, you see another plot, thing that goes throughout the rest of the series. she gives a customer the coffee pot to go pour
Rachel,
coffee for
Hey,
another
can you
dude.
put that back?
And it's like you know those first couple seasons, Rachel's lazy, right?
Mhm.
You know, she's
What?
lazy until she gets, you know, her like fashion jobs, right? In
Mhm.
the series, but
Then she becomes very driven. Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh,
I
wow.
think that's when you see a good change
Mhm.
in that.
And I think that's another thing that the show did so well with each character. Each character had such an arc the whole series.
Mhm,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they transition from their 20s into their 30s, and they're completely different people by the very end. Um,
yeah.
and they just did that so naturally. It seemed like throughout the whole time.
Yeah,
Which
I don't know so much if they're different people, but you get to the 10 years that you get to know them, you get to discover the depth that they have.
yeah. Hmm.
Mhm,
So because they're all still basically who we meet in the first episode, I would
Hmm.
say the through line follows through for all of them till the very end. Rachel being who she is, Monica being the type A person she is, Chandler being the funny guy all the way through, Joey being himself all the way through, Ross being that kind of the mopey character. All of it carries through to the end, but you discover so many layers of depth to each of these characters.
Hmm.
It's not just that person we meet. So they're a
mhm,
different person
Hmm.
in a sense, but it's you've been given the opportunity over a literal decade to get to
Hmm.
know
There's
these
a lot of growth.
people, yeah, on a level that even in real life you don't get to. you you know,
yeah.
for six strangers you don't get that kind of relational and emotional growth knowing someone unless you invest that time. And if you watch the series, that's 10 years. That's a decade of investment into, yeah, fake characters. They're not real. It's a TV show, but
Hmm.
into
It
understanding
is real.
how people
Hmm.
into understanding, that it's not just surface level. And that's
Yeah.
that's a good thing to remember in real life too. Like when you meet someone, it's not the person that you meet. There's so much more that you don't know about them. And I
Yeah.
think this is a great example of that done so well
Mhm.
that you legitimately care about fake characters in a fake show, but it's real to you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's relatable, right? It
Yeah.
can be relatable. I mean, I don't know if I have five other friends that you know I'm probably that close to, um, but you know, yeah, you have those types of friends that you have an impact in their lives, and they have an impact in yours, and you see that throughout the series. You also see some, you know, like small little things that, you know, in this first episode just start like comedy plots and stuff like that. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know if you caught this, but, and I caught this, I think, for the first time when I watched it today, but um, there's even a foreshadow with Chandler's dad being a being a cross dresser, where he says that he was in a dream in Las Vegas and he was Liza Minnelli.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
you even got that tiny detail of creating comedy in another season. I, th- I think it's fascinating. They wrote it so well.
Yeah, absolutely. They absolutely did a wonderful job. The Chandler jokes, I mean, they start with him talking about a dream in which he has to answer a phone that is his member. If you don't
There.
get that innuendo, I'm
It's
sorry,
there.
but he has to answer, and it's his mom. And you get another thing. He has an estranged relationship with his mother
Yeah.
because his
She
mom
never
calls and he
calls.
goes, she never calls.
Hmm.
And that's the joke. The joke isn't that he's answering a phone that is his, and it's that his mom doesn't call. And you're
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
wasn't expecting that punchline. That was great.
Yeah. Well, I think you see that more often when you watch shows as an adult. You see, like, at least rewatching this, I saw so many things that shape the rest of the series to what it is, and it created really a good experience watching it, because I'm like, oh, there's that, ooh, there's that, ooh. ooh.
Yeah, it's having the hindsight of having seen it through. You get to pick up on a lot more, and I think
Yeah.
that's super fun because the creators of the show already have these ideas in place for many seasons out.
No, yeah.
So
Mhm.
as you get to rewatching it, you get to feel like almost like a creator of the show to know where it's going, to see these super small, seemingly insignificant plot points
Mhm.
of Chandler's dream, Liza
Yeah.
Minnelli Vegas. You know that that's going to lead to something way later, into which his dad is crossdresser, and you don't know anything about it until like season 6 or something like that, and
Right.
that's so
Well,
far
I
down
think
the
you
line.
know about it. You just don't meet his dad until
Oh yeah, that's
they
right.
get
That's right.
married. Yeah. So, Dennis, that was the first episode. Do you have any other final thoughts on the first episode?
No, I think we really covered a lot. But again, it really does just kind of it prepares us for the rest of the series, which, as we were talking, is very brilliant how they did that. The set it's just a very brilliant setup.
Mm-hmm. I agree completely. Jelly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hang on. Before Dennis, what is your favorite episode of Friends?
Oh, I think I would have to go. Any of them, the ones that had Bruce Willis in them. I think it was like 3 of them. Those are all very good, but the best one, it was the one where Ross was hiding under the bed, and Bruce Willis's character was with Rachel at the cabin.
Yes.
Okay, and
So
then
good.
I think the reason I like that so much is there are very few times throughout the series where Ross truly gets the upper hand, and that's one of those
Yeah.
moments where he's able to, he's like, boom, I got you. I too am a love machine. I too am a neat guy.
Yeah.
That is probably one of my favorite ones. I think the other time when he really got the upper hand was when it was discovered there was a videotape of Emma's conception, and then they all wanted to
Yes.
watch the tape
Yeah.
up until that point, just to prove who came on to who. And so that was another one of those times where
Yeah.
he kind of had the upper hand there. She's like, oh, in 5 seconds you're going to see him. 10 seconds you're going to see why.
Good stuff. That is a fantastic episode, and
mm-hmm.
yeah, even that second one there with the Emma tape. Yeah, those.
Also, I guess I kind of have to backpedal to when you say what's a favorite episode. How about any Thanksgiving episode?
Yeah, Thanksgiving have to be standalone. The Thanksgiving episodes and Friends.
They had one every season, and they all were stellar. Every single one of them.
And like the Friends did holiday episodes the best out of like any show. Like most of them are just like actual like Christmas stories, like playing on the Christmas story, or like
right.
But like especially those Christmas Thanksgiving ones, man, they were the best because
they were original.
They were original, and if you really think about it, how many shows actually do a Thanksgiving show episode each season?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like
each season, every once in a while, yeah, but none of them are dedicated throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Those turned into the ones that everybody. No, again, I was watching it back in my day when it was live. Those were the ones everybody was looking for. Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Joey the turkey pants is one of the best moments, and all of them. And in my opinion, out of all of the Thanksgiving episodes, Joey's
my favorite is when Joey eats Rachel's parfait.
The trifle, yeah.
The trifle, yeah.
The authentic English trifle.
Just so good. Jelly, final thoughts on episode 1, and what's your favorite episode?
Episode 1, they hit it out the park. They gave us the perfect setup to introduce the characters, to build on what will become all of the cornerstone, of all of their story arcs. You get the intro to who they are as a character, a little bit of background, and that's kind of it. They give you a little bit, and they leave you wanting more, and then they deliver for 10 years all of the more that you wanted. I think they did amazing in the first episode. Favorite episode might be the oh gosh, I don't know, kayaks in the apartment episode, or when they get the duck. I really like that episode. Or the foosball table episode. I
That's a
don't
good
know.
one.
There's too many. There's so many good parts to Friends. The ones
Yeah.
that I like the most are usually the ones that make me feel something like deeper and more, that give me that emotional pull. But I can't think of those ones at the moment, because they kind of spread them out well. The ones where you
Well,
feel for the character.
I that kind of reminds me. I think one of the best moments in the show, maybe not the best episode, but certainly had one of the best moments was actually that one when Ross and Rachel broke up. When the other four are in the bedroom and they're stuck there while they're having the argument
Oh yeah.
about the we're on a break. The way that was shot and the way that was done, the acting by both actors was, and it was almost like a one act play.
Yeah.
It was almost like you were sitting in a play, and it was. I think that is just one of the most well done moments in
Oh
the
yeah.
show.
That's a good episode.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible episode because Rose and
Yeah,
Rachel.
yeah. Nobody wanted it,
No.
but it is. But it made you okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was performed well enough to where you understood. You understood
Yep.
both characters, and you understood why it had to be that way, even though you didn't want it to be that way. You still understood why it needed to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost like you were sitting there watching, rather than a TV show at that moment.
Yeah.
It was a different feel.
Oh, and
You were in the room with the
brilliant.
friends.
They brilliantly acted that too.
Absolutely.
So,
All right,
first
Mike.
episode, it was a joy to rewatch. I love this series. I'm not going to subscribe to HBO Max, which is good because I have the DVDs. But yeah, this first episode just highlights a lot of the reasons why you fall in love with these characters. And it just starts you on this journey towards such a, as Dennis said earlier in the show, such a good and amazing finale with so many good English trifle bits in the middle. And by the way, you guys were both wrong. The best episode of Friends is when they were having the game show to win the apartment.
Oh,
that episode is so good, so funny.
I forgot about that one.
Oh,
I can't believe it took us this long to bring that one up.
You're right. It is my favorite.
I can see. I can see.
Well,
I don't know if I can see it on that.
Bro, Chandler and Joey burst into the apartment riding a dog, and Chandler goes, it is amazing. So
was that the big white dog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact, that was actually Jennifer Aniston's personal dog.
It belonged to her. Yep.
Like her what?
That
just
was
the
her
dog statue. Okay, the statue.
She
it wasn't her
donated.
dog.
It belonged to her.
And then they took it from her.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. Really quickly to wrap up, what have you been up to? Jelly, why don't you start us off? What have you been reading, watching, playing video games, chilling?
Reading. I'm always reading Harry Potter and the Bible. They're my two favorites. I will reread them forever. Harry Potter, Bible.
Wait, are you currently reading Harry Potter?
You betcha. I'm on book 3 again. So here's the deal. I am the biggest Harry Potter nerd there is. This is for all you listeners. It's a challenge. I am the biggest Harry Potter nerd, and I listen to them on repeat. So after I finish the series, because I have them on audiobook, and because I do a job that doesn't require brain power, I just started over again. So this year alone, it's 6 times I've listened through.
Oh my
goodness! I don't
goodness!
think anybody's gonna challenge you.
So
wow.
Good luck. Yeah, and I do that every year. I just continue to do. I love it. So yeah, that and the Bible are the books that I'm reading. Shows that I'm watching: Avatar: The Last Airbender. came back to Netflix just recently,
Yeah, such
and
a
I
show.
am loving it. I'm on my third watch through of that. I am watching The Flash because I'm a superhero nerd and I'm a nerd. And Flash is my favorite character. So they made a TV show, and the TV show is pretty great.
It is really good. Yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly. And then playing Apex Legends and doing a podcast and working. And that's my life. That's what I've
Dennis,
been
what
doing.
have you been up to?
You know, I actually have also been Potter for the first time actually.
What?
I never got into them when they came out. They were kind of geared toward my younger brother's age. So I did not get into them. My wife is very much into them as though, and right around the
Good
time,
woman. Good woman right there.
yeah, right around the time that the whole pandemic event started here. My oldest, he's 5.5, he'll be 6 in he started asking about Harry Potter. Well, my wife has
That's a good kid.
there's like 4. Yeah, somebody at preschool was talking about, and the first 4 are illustrated versions, and we have
They're
them.
so good. I own
They
them.
are. They are. We're almost done with the second one. So that's something that he and I are doing together for the first time.
That's really
And
cool.
then,
Yeah, that's
because
amazing.
yeah, he wanted to watch the movies. Now I think I watched the first two movies long time ago.
Mhm.
So he wanted to watch the movies, and I said, well, what? We'll read books first before we watch the movies. So that's something. It's something that he's also looking forward to every time we're reading one of the books is to be able to watch the movie. And then yeah, eventually I'll watch all of the other movies too. And like I said, it was easily 15 years ago, the first 2 movies. So
You don't have to
so
watch the
that's
movies. It's not necessary.
no.
I
Really,
I like the
really
movies.
my only other exposure in the Harry Potter world, honeymoon, we did Disney, and we also went to Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios and did the whole Harry Potter experience. And I will say, even though
So jealous.
I
I
had
am so jealous.
I had very little exposure to Harry Potter before that, but that was one of the coolest rides I've ever done. That main one in the castle, and Butterbeer, highly recommend.
I'm
Unbelievable.
so sad and so jealous.
Oh, so good. No, that was unreal. I haven't really been watching a whole lot. Just really been spending a lot of time with the kids, keeping them active. Hasn't given me a lot of time to watch a lot of shows or anything. I'm a big Walking Dead fan, so I'm anticipating the final episode of this current season, which had to be put on
Delayed.
hold.
Yeah.
It had to be delayed because of the pandemic, and also the series was going to be starting because I'll watch any of the spinoffs as well. I'm going to hang on to that show because I'm still very entertained by it, and it's one of the few shows that I have hung on to since having kids. I've very little time to watch to hang on to a show. I used to watch a bunch of them. I think I've got 2 of them. I watch the Walking Dead shows, and I watch the Blacklist on NBC.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So
It's so hard to keep up
but
with
otherwise,
shows,
yeah,
man.
been working at home. Been doing that since March 16th was when I started doing that, and I've been able to hang on doing that with the kids home. This week here will be the last week the kids will be home. We are planning to send them back to preschool next week. So yeah, that'll be different.
Oh yeah.
It'll be good. It'll be nice.
Yeah.
It'll be crazy.
Yeah.
So what I've been up to is just playing video games. I play Apex, Call of Duty. I've been streaming as well. Stream at twitch.tv/stayathomegamer. That's a plug. And yeah, other than that, I haven't been reading much recently. I've been watching a lot of Big Brother. Heather and I are into Big Brother, the reality TV show. So we're watching older seasons because we're subscribed to CBS All Access. So we're watching season 2, kind of where it all began. You're a weirdo. But other than that, yeah, I've just been doing some shopping. We've been really busy around the house. We're getting the you've been to our house, Dennis, so That old
Mhm.
concrete slab that's in the backyard. We're getting it removed tomorrow. Thank
Oh,
God.
nice.
Oh yeah, it's
Nice.
gross. I hate looking at it. We got AC, we got central air installed. Been doing a lot with the
Nice.
stimulus package, so um, and then I've hit up a couple I hit up a toy store in my downtown area here, and bought Mecha Godzilla
Ooh.
for back there, and then I bought the Megazord as well from Power Rangers. So been trying to update my scenery here and stuff like that. So that's what I've been busy with. But yeah, and watching Friends. So
There you go.
there you go. Well, let's hit him with a to end. Dennis, thank you guys. Dennis and Jelly, thank you guys for joining me on this podcast journey. Thank you guys.
Always.
Always. All right. Just a quick reminder, you can find us at Patreon, patreon.com/the 90s First Podcast if you would like to support us monetarily.
Monetarily.
And new content is coming, guys. It will be released this weekend when the podcast releases this Friday night. So my name is Mike. That is you. Jelly. That's Jelly. That's Dennis.
I'm on this side.
No.
Jelly. What's up, guys?
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Adios.
See ya.